the Chiefs versus Bills. Final score 27-24. Need I say the exact score I predicted to the T on the podcast the other day? I had the Chiefs winning 27-24. The Chiefs win the game. Patrick Mahomes, when we going to stop doubting this man? 6 straight AFC championship appearances. Last year, I was told he wasn't going to be the same without Tyreek Hill. He won a Super Bowl. This year, with their offensive struggles, everybody was overblowing it like they were the New York Jets. I heard them being called frauds before this game. You giving your pick, Mr. Dells. I think something
Sliding
about the
his own
Chiefs
team.
is a little overrated. You called the Chiefs overrated. I mean, not only was the offense great, Mahomes played well, Kelsey, Pacheco, Rasheed Mason, big time plays, McCole Hardman. Oh my God, I'm tired of seeing him on the field. Can you believe that even MVS had some good catches in this game? I mean, he was doing
how
his
to play
job.
football.
And then the defense in the fourth quarter, locking up like they did. Man, let's stop down the Chiefs. Let's stop 6 straight AFC championship appearances, and Mahomes just won his first road playoff game. Let's stop doubting the Chiefs, man. I'm tired of it.
Who wants to go? Because a
Yeah.
lot can be said.
Rev, I feel like Rev should give his piece first. This is his
Cool with
team.
that.
Well, first of all, I want McDermott fired. I do, bro.
So he's coming on.
That could be I could be in my feelings, but that fourth and go for it with DeMar Hamlin, that shit really lost me. It really put me in a puzzling state. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what happened. Luckily, McCole Hardman got on the field, so we got the ball back in the touchback. But my God, that shit put me in a frenzy. But to start from the beginning, the energy was there to start the first quarter. Both teams was driving up and down the field. Both teams were scoring at a quite different rate. I think the Bills were more methodical. A lot of short, breaking you down in small parts. While the Chiefs had a lot of big time plays. They had a lot of down the field plays, big time reception. So it was different ways, but both offenses I felt like through 3 quarters was cooking up each other's defenses. They both were playing great. Josh was using a mixture of his legs and his arm. Mahomes was using a little bit more of his arms. Pacheco was good. Cooks was good. Johnson, the backup, he was good. I felt like through the first 3 quarters, though, you can see kind of, the Chiefs defense kind of starting to figure out the offense of the Bills, especially in the run game. Because you saw in the pass game, Mahomes. Allen threw some balls. He threw some dots. Unfortunately, Sherfield couldn't get one in. Couple Diggs couldn't get one in, but he threw some fucking bombs that could have led to some touchdowns. Just unfortunately, team couldn't get it in. That relied on their offense to kind of be more short and short routes and stuff like that because they couldn't get nothing down the field. And then in the fourth quarter, Joel, you talked about it a little bit. The Chiefs' defense wasn't great in this game. Spag kind of was getting carved up through the first 3 quarters, but in the fourth quarter they clutched up. In the fourth quarter they got stops late. And people want to talk about the last drive where Allen missed Diggs on the under and Kincaid, but I didn't mind the play to Shakir because he was open. He just kind of left it short. And the field goal, Tyler missed the field goal. Tyler's a pretty good kicker, so you expect him to make that. Unfortunately, the wind was going crazy. There was nothing you can do. But for this Bills defense, I mean, they were getting carved up all game by MVS. Travis Kelce, they had backup linebackers out there who just couldn't cover him at all. He was able to exploit them all game. And this Bills defense did not show up today. And I think the Bills curse could be real, but now you got to look at this offense. You got to look at this defense. And, you got Kincaid, who's young, and he's really good as a rookie. You got Shakir. Joel, you mentioned it a little bit. You might have to move off Stephon Diggs. That might – he has not been good since about – I want to say week 10. I don't know if that's exactly.
He hasn't had a 100-yard game since October.
Yeah, it's been
a
good
game against Miami, ironically.
That's not hard to do. But it's been a long time since Diggs has been Stephon Diggs. And in this game, you definitely expected him to show up. He did not show up, and unfortunately the Bills cannot do it. But I thought Josh, he played well for as much as you could have. He tried to put the team on his back. James Cook was good. Kincaid was good. This offensive line was working in the trenches. They had Terrence, Deion Dawkins. They were working in the trenches. Unfortunately, in the fourth quarter, the more talented defense got stops. And they ended up winning the game.
Mr. Delimart, would you like me to go?
Go for it, bro.
Bittersweet. Bittersweet is definitely the word. More bitter than sweet, most definitely. I would have happily been wrong about my pick. I was hoping that the Bills would pull it out. But I'll say this game was a lot more high scoring than I anticipated. I want to give credit where credit is due. Kansas City moved the ball with relative ease on the Buffalo Bills. A big question of mine was always going to be their offense. And of course, it had nothing to do with Mahomes, but of course, the surrounding pieces. They went out there and they executed at a high level. Even Clyde Edwards-Helaire had some nice catches, some nice touches with the ball in the backfield, pretty efficient with the ball in his hands. You already mentioned MVS. Somehow he remembered how to catch a football again. He was pretty integral in this game. Kelsey getting into the end zone twice. That was really where this game really started to turn on its head, where you're starting to get Mahomes and Kelsey back in the swing of things. And Kelsey only had 5 catches, but 2 of them were able to get into the end zone. Mahomes was near flawless in this game. You look on the opposite side, the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen was also near flawless, but you look at that last drive. He had one that I don't put on him. The other that I think that let me not say think. I know he wishes he had back over the middle of the field in the end zone to Shakir, where he kind of just shorts it. That throw to Diggs was one of the most impressive incompletions I've ever seen. I'm not here to glorify an incompletion, but it felt, if you would have told me it was 85 yards in the air, shit, I would have believed you. It was a rifle right in the breadbasket to Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs, who has been just utterly disappointing for the Buffalo Bills in just so many consecutive weeks, it's unfortunate that when your number's called, when you are a supposed top 5 coming into the season, no doubt, but a top 10 wide receiver in a Stephon Diggs, your brother Trayvon Diggs is calling out Josh Allen. It seems as if, Josh Allen wasn't anyone until Stephon came to town. Josh did his job today. Josh was pretty damn great today in his own right. And Stephon having that opportunity to put them in a position to score much more rapidly than what they would have had. Of course, you understand that the game ended up with for the Bills, a missed field goal. But you got to make that grab. The great ones make a grab. And seeing him drop that beautiful, perfect pass was pretty tough to see. But you got to give credit to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills had their opportunities to win this game before the missed field goal. You have the play where Mecole Hardman fumbles for the touchback. Then you go 3 plays and punt the ball right back to Kansas City. That can happen. You have the momentum back on your side. You got a gift after a pretty bad play call on 4th down going for it. I understand the logic. If I'm not mistaken, the Chiefs had 10 people on the field at that time, so they tried to take advantage of that mismatch. Obviously, it did not pan out for the Bills, but you had opportunities. You had opportunities that you could have taken control of this game. You simply couldn't get the stop on the other end, which has seemingly been the story of the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. But there were stops on this side too, even late in that game. Right after you punt the ball, the defense forces the Chiefs to punt the ball also. So it's a tough loss if you're Buffalo. It's gotten to the point where you feel that this is just a cursed franchise. But Josh Allen proved one thing, that he is going to be able to hang with Mahomes. Unfortunately, he just can't seize the beast.
It's tough to call it a cursed franchise when the team they're going up against is Patrick Mahomes, so it feels like every year. It's tough for Buffalo because this felt like the year that they were going to get past Kansas City. I tweeted out right after the game, like, if it wasn't this year, what year is it going to be? Because this, to me, was pretty comfortably the worst Chiefs team in the Patrick Mahomes era. Defense was great, but the offense all season long was not up to par from what we've seen in previous years. The way Josh Allen was playing this year, he was putting up MVP-type numbers. How hot they get down the stretch. You win Week 18 in Miami to win the division, beat Pittsburgh in round 1. You have all of those momentum, and now you get a home game against the Kansas City Chiefs, who you haven't beaten the playoffs. It felt like everything was coming together for Buffalo to be able to pull this off, and they just weren't able to. And when you go and look at the stats, it backs up what I was feeling, which was it felt like Buffalo was in control of this game. It felt like Buffalo had a real chance to win this game. They ran 78 plays compared to the Chiefs' 47. Time of possession was way in favor of Buffalo. And Riv, you're right. the Chiefs only ran 47 plays, but they averaged 7.7 yards per play to Buffalo's 4.7. Like you said, Buffalo is much more methodical going down the field, while Kansas City was able to get some of those big plays. And what we've seen in playoff games over these last few years, really throughout NFL history, but especially with this, offensive explosion we'd seen, was if you're able to get big plays on offense, if you're able to get quick touchdowns, it's a lot easier to win those games than having to sustain those long drives. I don't know what the future holds for Sean McDermott. I'd be pretty shocked if they moved off him. They did give him a contract extension, I want to say, either a year or two ago. And they were in this game, and this was not only the worst year of the Mahomes era, but it was also probably the best year of Josh Allen's era. That was also the other side, where this seemed like the best offensive line he'd had, definitely the best run game he had. James Cook broke out and had, top 5 scrimmage yards from all running backs this season. He was tremendous. But down the stretch, you guys talked about Stephon Diggs. That feels like the one area where I'm looking at going into this offseason. Is Stephon Diggs, who had been a superstar for us these last couple of years, has been a superstar for the first month or two of this season, failed to show up for the final, 8+ weeks of the year. He's able to be the Stephon Diggs we know, and maybe some of this on Joe Brady, but still, I feel like Joe Brady does well in other areas, that maybe getting Stephon Diggs more involved in this offense outside of just some screen passes. That's kind of the one area look at this Buffalo team saying we need some more threats on the perimeter, because Khalil Shakir down the stretch was their best wide receiver. And you could make the argument that maybe even someone like Dalton Kincaid, who was used sparingly, you'd probably still put Diggs there. But my point being, they need someone else out there. Because if Diggs isn't going to show up and be that true number one, now you're really screwed. Because Gabe Davis has not shown to be consistent at all. Of course, he missed these last couple of games. And Shakir is probably, maybe he could be a wide receiver too. But to me right now, he feels like a 3. So that's kind of the only area I'm looking at Buffalo in the offseason. There's areas to improve. This is a draft class full of wide receivers. So if Stephon Diggs isn't going to be back, that becomes a huge need. Even if he is back, I'd like to see them add another weapon.
Gabe Davis, count your fucking days, man. He's out of here.
Khalil Shakir clears.
He was hurt, though, wasn't he? He didn't play.
He didn't play, but Shakir's better.
They can still use Gabe Davis. They could have used him.
They're not paying him, bro. He's gone. It's okay.
I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but this was almost like a exact carbon copy of the Packers last night. Josh Allen played a great game. He had, to me, one of his best performances through 3 quarters. But all day long, the Bills, they played well. They won the time possession battle 33 minutes to 22. They outgained Kansas City. They're 7-14 on third down. They had 0 sacks in the day, and they had 0 turnovers on offense. The issue simply was Stephon Diggs is nowhere to be found in these high-leverage playoff games, and we've seen this in moments past. And at the end of the game, Josh Allen has 2 turnover-worthy plays in the fourth quarter where none of these weapons really stepping up to make a big-time play. And Buffalo, over the years, has had a lot of really bad luck defensively. They come into this game missing 5 or 6 of their starters. And just like the Packers last night, when Josh Allen has to carry basically the entire passing game, you see those turnovers late. And then in those, windy conditions, you ask the kicker to kind of tie the game up. And I don't know. I felt when Tyler Bass went out there, he was missing that kick, just like Andres Carlson last night. I did not have a good feeling. And for it to be wide right, I mean, this Bills team has been one of the most unlucky in football. It's just like the Packers, were special teams, their defense falling apart, especially against the run, and their head coach always leaves a little bit more to be desired in these matchups versus Kansas City, which is a more coach team with more continuity, a quarterback equally great, and a defense that's just way more sustainably awesome. I always said in the regular season, this is a great defense to the Bills, but they're a paper tiger. And these big moments in these big games, you kind of can't really trust them to make that big play. And I don't know, I felt the fake punt with Damar Hamlin on your own 30-yard line was insane. And that was the turning point of this game. The Chiefs had 10 guys in the field, but the risk in that situation was far greater than the reward to me. And even though they're only down by 3 points and they got the touchback because of McCole Hardman giving them a second fumble, that to me is when Kansas City took control of all the momentum. And it felt like Buffalo was not going to kind of get that juice back to make a heroic fourth quarter comeback or victory, I should say.
I don't think Sean McDermott gets fired. What he did with this team down the stretch is respect worthy. I mean, this team had a ton of injuries on defense. They had some great defensive performances down the stretch. Even in this football game, I mean, listen, let's just be clear about something. when you're facing elite level quarterbacks, your defense is going to get scored on. You're not going to lock up quarterbacks. And a lot on both sides, a lot of the great game plans by Steve Spagnuolo were just better heroics by Josh Allen converting on third and long situations. It's like, okay, that's the right play call. It's tight coverage. That's just a throw that only Josh Allen and maybe two other quarterbacks can make. And same thing with Mahomes doing it on the other end. But the Bills defense did give the Bills the ball on one final drive. Josh Allen, him fumbling, even though the Bills recovered, that was not on his supporting cast. Let's just make that clear. Josh Allen taking the risk to go deep on a dig for a touchdown to put the Bills up instead of seeing Stephon Diggs, that was a him decision. And I don't think that was a bad throw. I think Chris Jones just got into him. And, you know, Chris Jones knocked him off his platform and threw the ball off. But it felt a lot like the Josh Allen to Gabe Davis missed touchdown. And this is just the truth about the Bills. The Bills can come close, but it's never enough. And this goes back to before the Josh Allen era. This goes back to the current Josh Allen era where they lost to the Chiefs in an AFC Championship game with 13 seconds left. The Chiefs were able to get a field goal and score and then go into overtime and then win the game. And the same thing can be said in this matchup when the Chiefs made timely plays. The Bills did not. And I think that's on everybody. But I want to say this, man. I know the disrespect y'all had on Patrick Mahomes. Dels, I heard your analysis before coming to the game. The team might be a little overrated. Riv, you was hating on the Chiefs last week. You picked the Dolphins against the Chiefs. Drew, you're a Broncos fan. I understand. But I just want to rattle off what this man has accomplished.
Oh my God.
Because he is the best quarterback to ever play in the NFL. Most playoff wins by a quarterback before turning 30 years old. Patrick Mahomes has 30. Tom Brady had 12. Joe Flacco had 10. Troy Aikman had 10. Ben Roethlisberger had 10. Mahomes is only 28 years old. And he has the most playoff wins of any quarterback before turning 30. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, most touchdown quarterback to receiver touchdown passes in NFL history with 16. That's over Brady and Gronk. Patrick Mahomes, 6 years as a starter, 6 trips to the AFC Championship game. Patrick Mahomes is 8-2 in the playoffs, went down 7+ points. His 2 losses against the GOAT Tom Brady. I'm tired of the disrespect. Dels, you disrespected the Chiefs when you picked the Bills to win this game. Riv, I heard you in the season say the Browns were going to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. Drew, you said the Dolphins would beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. You were calling the Chiefs fraudulent all year long. And I told y'all, don't worry about the offense. Don't worry about Mahomes, because when Mahomes gets into the playoffs, he's the best quarterback to ever play. #1 in passer rating. I'm tired of the disrespect. And I know you guys are going to try to not give Mahomes a chance against the Ravens. It's going to be a tough matchup. Much respect to Baltimore. But please, put some respect on the Chiefs.
Yo, bro, did you see how the Bills was able to run the ball on the Chiefs? Do you know what Baltimore is going to do to them?
It's going to be a good game. I can't see. Casey's got a shot. I don't know. Did I ever say like Casey's going to go in there, get blown out by 30? Like I was picking Buffalo. I was confident in Buffalo. But
when you picked Buffalo, you said the Chiefs, they feel a little overrated to me.
They're
not overrated now, Dels. They're not overrated now. They're not overrated now.
You getting a shot in your little monologue right there was a little bit much. That being said,
you've been calling them all year long.
I do think some of the things, no, for sure. I definitely, which I will always be every single year. I will definitely be against the Chiefs. But that being said, I did think that your analysis on them, Joel, was a little bit much. I understand that the Dolphins win, may have looked a little bit ugly, but it was the coldest game. One of the coldest games, the 4th coldest game in NFL history. We saw Patrick Mahomes, even in those conditions, still play at a super high level. They weren't converting in the red zone, which was obviously a huge knock on them because we've been concerned about their offense. But we just unfortunately know the truth. In these moments, there's no quarterback that reaches the heights that Mahomes has reached so far. So I say to overrate the Chiefs, I think you mostly meant their offense, which I get and fine. I've been saying that all season long. But with the way that they just worked Miami, made it look like they didn't even deserve to be in the playoffs at all. And with the way that Buffalo looked against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know. That was what led me to this direction of thinking that the Chiefs ultimately would win, just for the fact of, even like you said, and I don't disagree, and it's very reminiscent of that Eagles game in the Super Bowl last season, where it just seemed like the Eagles were a little bit more methodical with their drives. They controlled time of possession, but every time Mahomes had the ball, he was efficient. He was getting in the end zone. Similarly, like today, where they just got the ball and they were able to move down the field effectively, get points on the board, and toss the ball over to their defense. Difference is now their defense is elite, and it's very good. And even though today we saw Josh Allen, we saw James Cook look very good. I'll throw Dalton Kincaid in this mix as well. Shakir had himself a solid ball game. You're going up against an elite offense in the Buffalo Bills, but Kansas City Chiefs, unfortunately, so long as they have that guy 15, you give him a chance.
Yeah, and I just think it's funny because, and Joel, you mentioned it. I don't think, like, Chris Jones did push. I forgot who it was. I think that was Dawkins, but he did push
the left side was Spencer Brown.
Spencer, yeah. So he did push him into Allen, but I didn't think that was a bad. Like, Shakir was open in the back of the end zone. You know, if he didn't push him, that probably is a TD. And regardless of him missing out on the underneath drills, which people keep harping on, that's why they lost the game, they still had an opportunity to tie the game. And Tyler Bass missed a fucking field goal. And Drew, you mentioned it. Like, Diggs, you're a superstar. You said the same thing. You're a high quality player. I thought the pass to Sherfield was better than the one to Diggs. It was right in the bucket. Like, it was right in the bucket, and he just couldn't. He couldn't get it in. It was like so many opportunities that this team, as a collective, you know, just like Joel mentioned, they couldn't make plays. The big time plays are the important plays. You know, you felt like they was gonna win. You felt like it, but towards the fourth quarter, you were kind of like, this isn't gonna last, and then they couldn't just make clutch opportunities.
You're right. It was Deion Dawkins. But that's what I mean. With the Bills, I feel like they're always so close and they can never get it done when it matters. They might have beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but when it matters, they're not able to beat them. And this is the weakest Chiefs team of the last 6 seasons, at least from an offensive standpoint. And I told you guys before the playoffs started that the Chiefs' recipe to making a deep playoff run is running the football. They got it, and Mahomes just has to play efficiently. And you see Andy Reid has really leaned into that. So I think the Baltimore matchup will be interesting. I think you were on my show, John, when we talked about how I'm not giving up on the Chiefs because Mahomes, I don't think, is playing that well. And once Mahomes starts playing well, I think this offense will be taken up to another level because all year long, they were an above average offense with Mahomes, I don't think, playing his best. So if he plays at his best, this offense could shoot up to top 5 just because of what he brings.
And the unsung hero today is our guy, Isaiah Pacheco. 111 yards and 16 touches. He runs like, you can make a lot of pretty good comparisons, but he runs like a hammer. And in order for this Chiefs offense to be, you know, sustainably good, like 25 points a game.
Run, John.
What? You know what I meant.
Dude runs fast. He runs fast. Yo, let's move on. Let's just move on. Agreed.
He runs like a hammer. Like, you don't want to get in his way.
You said it again. Oh, that's funny.
But I mean, with those short strides, he's going to be the difference maker in their offense. You know, Rashee Rice had a quiet game, but those two guys are going to be what uplifts this entire unit versus the Ravens. When you look at Baltimore's running backs, the Chiefs have an advantage there. And with Mark Andrews coming off injury, you could say the Chiefs had the advantage as well in the entire weapons department. So we could say it's the weakest Chiefs team they have yet, but I really don't think so. With their defense, especially their secondary, the cornerback room is far and away the best left. And you look at the offensive line, they didn't have their best game today versus Buffalo, but I feel like this Chiefs team has been the same as it's been as good as always. It's just a completely different way that they want to win games, much more like Brady and Belichick in the second stage, the later half of their tenure together. It's not pretty, but it's just as effective. And I want to read off this because I think the disappearing acts by Stephon Diggs, they can be summarized by his production. Last 5 playoff games for Stephon Diggs, 3 catches for 7 yards versus the Chiefs in 2021. 7 catches for 114 yards last year in the wild card versus the Dolphins. 4 catches for 35 yards in their loss last year versus the Bengals, AFK. And then versus the Steelers last week, 7 catches, 52 yards. Today, in their loss versus the Chiefs elimination game, 3 catches for 21 yards. Josh did miss him on that one and breaking route, which could have been easy first down to like the 10-yard line. But I mean, that was one of the most looked like a 75-yard throw in the air, and that would have probably put them in position to win this game.
Yeah.
So he only kills
John-
bums.
John-